let's turn our attention to, we call it mining and environment, but it's really environment, just that the mining discussion has be brought to the front and center, the environment. And Dr. Ekua Odoom, who is an environmental scientist. Doc, thanks for joining us. How do you assess the first year of the Mahama government from an environmental perspective?
Thank you, Mr. Avle, and then good afternoon to my fellow panelists and then to the audience as well.
Go ahead.
I think you've given me a very difficult task. You know, when it comes to the issue of illegal mining, it's quite sensitive. Before I delve into Galamsey, I will first of all start by trying to set the scene and then highlight some key environmental issues that Ghana face. I think we are all aware that Ghana generally has what we call has issues with environmental management, right? So currently we are confronted by 5 key environmental issues. You can talk about the issue of plastic pollution, climate change, illegal mining, biodiversity loss, and then land degradation. The reason why...
Hold on. Plastic pollution, climate change, illegal mining...
Biodiversity loss.
Biodiversity loss.
And then land degradation.
Land degradation. So these are the 6 key problems, or 5?
The 5.
5 key problems.
So you also realize that when it comes to the issue of Galamsey, it's actually affecting 2 of these key issues, or Galamsey is sort of contributing to 2 of these key issues, which is the biodiversity loss and then the land degradation. So in terms of the regional scope of the impacts, currently I think about 14 out of our 60 regions is being heavily impacted by Galamsey activities. And then the impact of these Galamsey activities can be seen through the pollution of our water bodies. Health-wise, you talk about prevalence or increase in respiratory and some neurological diseases. I mean, we even see on our TVs instances that kids are born with all sort of, deformities as a result of pollution from these heavy metals, which is used during the Galamsey activities. So over the years, I mean, there's been a lot of effort by different governments in trying to, fight the situation. You can talk about Operation Galam Stop, Operation Halt 1 and 2. We have also Operation Vanguard. But you realize that most of these haven't been really effective due to political interference. And also the fact that there hasn't been extensive stakeholder consultation, trying to also involve the traditional councils, etc. I mean, a lot of issues with that regards. So I will then narrow down to what the government has done so far. When it comes to the Mahama administration, it's fair to say there has been some renewed intention, in trying to fight the Galamsey issue, and also some appreciable visibility with the issue. So in terms of the Mahama administration, for me, I see 3 clear approaches. They are combining the military approach. They are also combining legal reforms as well as evidence-based. And for me as a scientist, I'm very much happy when it comes to, trying to use evidence to solve a problem. Because clearly, the first step in trying to resolve an issue is to ask why. And then based on that, you try to understand what are the drivers, why are people doing what they do, etc. So in terms of the military approach, you can talk about the institutionalization and then the operationalization of what they call NIMOS, which is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat. I think that was inaugurated somewhere June of 2025, and it's been housed at the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources, and they collaborate with the Ghana Police and then Armed Forces. So since the inception of the NIMOS, there's been some arrests. I think currently it sits around approximately 1,500, which also has a mix of foreign nationals. And then in terms of achievements, there's been destruction of some Galamsey infrastructure. There's been seizures. There's been, as I mentioned earlier, arrests and all that. And I'll also move on to, in terms of the legal reforms, what has been done. Just recently, beginning of this year, the president repealed the LI 2462, which initially was allowing some level of mining within the forest and reserve. So since the revocation of that LI, there has there has been a ban on any form of mining within the forest reserve. And then statistics is also showing that there has been about a reduction of about 80% threats on the forest reserves. About 9 of the forest reserves has also been protected. And also the mandate for the Forest Commission has been fully instated now. So I move on to evidence-based. So the government commissioned a ministerial committee to try and then develop a blueprint for sustainable mining. And then based on that, the committee were able to, do extensive stakeholder, try to understand what some of the drivers, etc. And then they've been able to come up with like very good recommendations on how to move things forward. We can also talk about the fact that I think recently the government made an effort in trying to regulate the permit regime for the importation of excavators into the country. So clearly we can see there have been some efforts. So I'm just going to also give like a high level assessment in terms of trying to look at the political will, the consistency, and also the enforcement capacity so far. So in terms of the political will and consistency, clearly we've seen that there's been some efforts, through the various initiatives that I mentioned. However, I think there's room for improvement because especially with the establishment of the NIMOS, the catch and release is not enough. We need prosecution of these perpetrators, right? And for me, I think it's more important that we shift from more like the initiative-driven approach and try and then give these institutions the autonomy. We need to institutionalize the fights, okay, so that they are able to, take or bring people to book or justice. And then once we're able to institutionalize the fight, whatever measures we have in place will be able to, withstand all political cycles, different, elite influences, and whatever economic trade-offs that might arise in the future. And then on the, another thing that I think will also be very good is the NIMOS is a very good initiative, but they need some level of permanent position in those heavily mined Galamsey areas, right? It shouldn't be like a one-off, task force event, because you realize that by the time they even get to those sites, most of them have even already moved. So I think having like a permanent positioning in those areas would try and then put them into check. And in terms of the enforcement capacity, right? Obviously, government has made some efforts. I think recently he even donated some motorbikes, cars, etc. So that in itself is good. There's been some training, etc. But then they still need to increase the human resource capacity. Because you realize that usually when they go out in the field, they're always outnumbered. And most of these guys engaged in the illegal mining activities, you see them wield high military grade ammunition and then equipment. So it's also important that when they are sending these task force out there, they also go very kind of prepared. So I think I'll just wrap up by reflecting on a personal experience. So somewhere within last year, I did some work in one of the Galamsey prone areas. And then I engaged one of them. I just wanted to understand, why they do what they do. And the man said, "Madam, it's actually the community people who are sort of enabling us because they've adapted their livelihood, their economic activities to suit the, whatever they are engaged in." So you realize that most of the time, before even the task force get to them, they would call and then give them a tip or warn them off. So this brings me to the fact that, when you are trying to solve this issue, it's not like a quick fix. Yeah, the responsibility lies on, all of us.
Wonderful.
Okay. Clearly, for me, the way forward is that we need more of, aggressive environmental campaigning, a lot of civic education, because there should be that kind of behavioral mindset change amongst all of us. And I think I'll take us back to, somewhere early 2000 or so. There was campaign on, indiscriminate urination and all that. It really stuck to people. So I think we are at a point now that we need to be very aggressive
aggressive civic engagement.
Exactly.
To change the mindset of the population.
We need to.
Around environmental preservation.
Wonderful. And then also it's very important that, I think I've also mentioned that point earlier on, government needs to sort of enforce or give these relevant state institutions like your EPA, your Water Resource Commission, etc. You need to, enforce, equip them, and give them the autonomy to be able to, fight the Galamsey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow.